Okay, moving on to PSHE and RE. Our topic, the first half of the term, is living in the community. And we're looking at the needs really of different groups within that community. So we might be looking at the elderly, or things like wheelchair access or blind. The things that we take so much for granted. We may not necessarily think about the needs of different people. How do people get into Tesco's, if they're in a wheelchair? And also looking at the groups within the community and not making assumptions. So they might be 93 and they might have poor vision possibly, but they might be running a marathon, the London Marathon. There are elderly people who are doing wonderful things as well. There are elderly or young people who have particular needs. So it's how we help those groups and how we view them within our lives. Recognising their needs and appreciating the ways in which they're looked after, and how the children themselves are looked after. Who are the people within our experience who help us? Maybe it's not here necessarily, but you would be looking at lollipop babies and things like that. Or if they go to the doctor, if they're not feeling well, what do they do? Where do they go? Who helps them? If they're in a hospital, who helps them? There's a nurse there who will look after them. And appreciating really all the different ways that all people within the community and all the different aspects are catered for. And accepting the needs of others and considering, looking at sort of simple social dilemmas really, such as having to share things when they might not want to, and how sometimes you have to not always do what you want to do, you have to consider the needs of somebody else, which is a difficult one to get over, but rather interesting, a very interesting discussion. Considering, this is leading on as well to considering the concept of fairness. What does that mean? Is it fair if you always get your own way? Well, they probably think, yes, actually it is. I want to play the game my way, so that's good. Why aren't they doing that? So that brings up some very interesting discussions. And recognising that our behaviour has consequences for others. Again, it's all leading on to basically fair play. So it goes into the playground as well, and so we talk about games and how you deal with discussions and arguments in the playground, and who's going to do what, and who's going to play what role. And if he doesn't want to be a horse, he doesn't want to be a horse, so they have to accept that. And also later on, challenging gender stereotypes. There's a story as well that goes on about a girl who was a brilliant footballer, but she isn't allowed into the class team because she's a girl. So there's lots of little stories about that, which we'll knock on the head pretty swiftly.